Welcome back to English with Jonny. Today we're going to be looking at the animal topic in parts 2 and 3 of the speaking test. And I'm really excited to do this one, so let's get straight to it. So let's look at the part 2 cue card. So you will be asked to describe an interesting animal you have seen. You need to say what the animal was, where you saw it, what it was doing, and why you found it interesting. Well, for me, nothing comes close to the honey badger, who gets its name from feeding on honey and honeybee larvae. However, despite the name, these animals are anything but sweet. They also feed on reptiles like cobras and other snakes, birds, amphibians. The list of their prey is seemingly endless. Technically they're omnivores though, so they also will eat roots and fruits and berries. They're basically just a very voracious species. Now they sort of resemble small bears. They have broad shoulders and very sharp long claws, but their most prominent feature is their razor sharp teeth. They look quite fierce. Now, unfortunately, I've never seen one in the flesh, but I first came across this animal when I was browsing YouTube late one night. I was just monotonously clicking through videos as you do, when I came across one titled "Honey Badger Takes on 6 Lions." And I was just, very intrigued, because what kind of an animal can stand up to 6 apex predators? So I clicked on the video and it did not disappoint. The honey badger, despite looking completely outmatched, was twisting and turning, and it was all very intense, like an action film. There were quite a few times I thought the honey badger was done for, but it always ended up escaping. But the strange thing is, when it escaped, it went straight back for more. And I think, in the end, the honey badger was pretty much the victor. It landed a nasty swipe on the lioness and still, drove them off. I think, just goes to show that size doesn't matter, especially when you are as fierce as the honey badger. Okay, so that was the part 2. Now, let's go straight to the part 3. So the first question in the part 3 section of this topic is, are cities safe for animals? Well, I think it does depend on the animal. Many birds, such as pigeons, seem to do quite well in cities. Some may even argue that they thrive, and I think the same can be said for foxes and stray cats and dogs. But arguably, all these animals have a degree of domestication to them, which probably makes them feel right at home in urban areas. Absolutely not. I mean, traffic in cities these days is so awful, and I think it would be very difficult for any species other than humans to safely navigate and survive. I think there's so many traffic incidents these days where animals are killed or severely injured, in large part due to urban sprawl and a rising population. And I think unless something is done about this, cities will continue to be unsafe for the majority of animals. Generally, most cities in the world are unsafe for animals due to the high levels of traffic and unsuitable infrastructure. However, this isn't always the case, and I've heard about some cities in places like India where they specifically construct the infrastructure with certain animals in mind, species that they revere, such as cows or elephants. So I think, cities that do take into account that animals will be coexisting alongside humans are safe for those animals. The next question is, what problems will keeping pets bring? Personally, for me, one of the biggest issues when owning a pet that most owners don't really anticipate is the financial impact, in particular the medical costs. Animals like cats and dogs will require spaying, neutering, and numerous vaccinations, all of which can cost quite a lot of money. And even then, They may have an unforeseen accident or develop an illness or a disease which will require surgery or expensive treatment, all of which dents their owners' wallets quite severely. As a result, I think most of the problems surrounding pets are financial. It has to be the responsibility. I mean, it doesn't really matter what pet somebody chooses to have, because at the end of the day, it's a living, breathing creature, and they have taken on the responsibility of providing its needs. For instance, if somebody adopts a dog, then they shouldn't leave it at home all day. They should take it out for walks and spend adequate time bonding with it. Even more independent animals, such as cats, will be relying on their owners for lots of things, and I'm just not sure everybody's up to the job. Well, I think the biggest hardship one can experience when owning a pet is when that animal inevitably passes away. I mean, you spend so much time bonding with this animal, nurturing this animal, and you become so close and they become such an integral part of your life. And for all of that to just be gone in an instant would leave a big hole, and it's very hard to, move on after your pet passes away. The last question is, how are pets different now than in the past? It does seem that nowadays people are a lot more attached to their pets than in the past. I mean, in the olden days, pets had a clear position in the hierarchy of the family, and unfortunately it was pretty near the bottom. However, these days the lines are blurred. People are much closer to their pets, and they're similar to their children almost. It's not uncommon these days for people to throw a birthday party for their pet, and I've even heard some crazy stories about eccentric owners leaving millions and millions of pounds in their wills to their pets. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like and subscribe and keep practicing. I'll see you next time.